Hello fellow humans and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh and today is day 4 of VALA, so that means I'm going to do my March wrap up and favourites video. Now of course I would normally just do a monthly wrap up if I were to do a video like this at all, but I didn't actually finish very many books during the month of March. I started loads, but I'm a mood reader and I always have about 10 books on the go at once, so I don't always get as many books finished as I might like. That being said, I hope you enjoy the favourites being included in it. But before we get to that part, I want to talk about March as a whole, both for me and for the Madhouse in general. I have to say, it's been pretty good for both. February was not a good month for me. I was very down, but March was magnificent, at least in some ways. I wasn't too great at the start because I had the flu and I wasn't able to visit my parents on Mother's Day, but I was able to then visit them twice in the following weeks, and I enjoyed it so much, being able to go home, see my mum and my dad and my brother and my grandma and my dog in the first week, and then the second week all of those again, and my aunt and uncle as well, which was lovely. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet up with any of my friends from back home because they were all busy and one of them was off on some sort of anniversary jaunt with her boyfriend, which I can't begrudge her, but I've been trying to meet up with her for ages as well, so we're having talks about it now because I don't want to be those friends who say, oh yeah, we should totally meet up, and then not speak for 5 years. As for the Madhouse, it's been pretty good for that too. I have made a lot of videos I am proud of this month. Now, not all of them are particularly high quality in terms of, what's that called? Composition of the shots, or sometimes not even the writing, but I enjoyed them nonetheless. I uploaded reviews of both Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe and Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and I think they went swimmingly. There was a coffee in a chat video about the possible introduction of opposite-sex civil partnerships and what this might mean. I'm still unsure about it, but if you want to take a look, I'll be more than happy to have this discussion. I started Top 5 Wednesday again, beginning with the top 5 fictional things I want, and I'm hoping to continue this into the near future, so that's fantastic. I started a video series called #6recs, where you might guess I will give 6 book recommendations. I don't know why I chose the number 6. I just like, why the hell not? It's always about top 5s, top 10s or top 3s. What's wrong with the number 6? I'm a big fan of the hexadecimal system as introduced by the Mesopotamians. And I'm showing my true colours as a nerd here, aren't I? And I also uploaded a video about living on £5 for a week because of money problems, and a recipe to accompany this, and I shall still be making videos of that sort for the foreseeable future. The recipes will continue for ages, and I intend to incorporate some of my bookish bakes into there, so expect to see the Queen of Hearts tart and Miss Trunchbull's chocolate cake at some point. And as for the living on £5 a week, I haven't starved yet. It's going pretty well. And now that that's out of the way, let's go on to the books I read during the month of March. As I said, there are not very many of them, so I'll make this quick. There is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's We Should All Be Feminist, which is a very short read, but it's really quite interesting and raises some perfectly valid points. I may have a talk about this in far more detail in the future. There is The Unknown Unknown, Bookshops and the Delight of Not Getting What You Wanted by Mark Forsyth, which, if you watched yesterday's VALA video, he is the author of the Etymologicon and the Orologicon, the final book that I hauled. But this is just a delightful little book. It cheered me up tremendously because it's all about the importance of, well, bookshops, and how in the age of Amazon and Book Depository, which are great, don't get me wrong, we often forget what it's like to just go into a shop with no expectations of what we want. And this book awakens that in me, and it's inspiring me to start a series on my blog, which I may bring over onto the Madhouse, called the Bookshop Blog, which is going to be all about distinctive bookshops I find around the world and my experience within them. How easy it is to get lost, for one thing, because that's the best thing to do in any large shop. I got quite lost in Foyles in London a few weeks ago. That was fun. There was Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, which, if you've watched the review I mentioned earlier, you will know I absolutely adored. It was fantastic. Make sure you read this book, you won't regret it. There are also a few editions of Time magazine, because I did this thing a few months ago where I keep getting sent free copies, and I'm not going to complain about that. Some of them are fascinating. I'll talk more about those in the future. And then there is also the March copy of GT or Gay Times magazine, which I have not bought in a long time, but I quite enjoy it. For one, that is the first trans man to ever grace the cover, and well, he's pretty handsome, but also because there is a large section on here about Callum McSwiggan, the gay YouTuber who recently, what's that word, confessed to having done gay porn. Which I wasn't surprised about at all, because if you go back and look at the first video on his YouTube channel, he does say, and in the title in fact, I did gay porn, and then went, kidding. No you weren't, Callum. But I don't really see why he had to confess anyway, because one, it's not a crime, and two, if you're in dire straits, you need some money, you do whatever you feel is necessary to survive. Don't go butchering babies, because that is illegal and very, very wrong. But pornography, if you're good at sex, why not make money from it? It's not for me, but why not? There was also In Memory, a tribute to Terry Pratchett, which I read on March 12th. Oof, and this was by Sorin Susiu and various other authors and writers and ordinary people who just thought they would contribute a chapter. And it's fantastic. There's all sorts of science fiction and fantastical stories in there, all in memory of Sir Terry. So of course I had to read it on the anniversary of his death. You'll enjoy them, and sorry, the guy with the name I can't pronounce is excellent when it comes to comic writing. Comic fantasy and comic sci-fi, I think, are very much going to be his domain within the next few years, although not for long if I have anything to say about it. There was The Palace Job by Patrick Weeks, which was interesting to say the least, and the characterisation in it was marvellous, as you might expect, because Patrick Weeks was a writer on the Mass Effect and Dragon Age games, and was almost single-handedly responsible for the characters of Mordin Solus and Tali Zora Vass. I can't actually say which word that is there because that might be a spoiler. Let's go with Nima, because that's the original one. And now for the audiobooks I finished this month. There was Born with Teeth by Kate Mulgrew and narrated by her, which was marvellous. Just listening to her voice, of course, she puts a lot more melody into her voice than when she's talking in her role as, say, Captain Janeway. So it was like listening to Flemmer from Dragon Age, which was both terrifying and magical. There was also Romeo and Jude, which is a gay retelling of Romeo and Juliet, which was incredibly clever, and I'll be doing a video specifically about this one later. But this is going to be big, I'm telling you. Everyone should listen to this. It's so very, very cleverly done. And that's all of the books that I finished during the month of March. Let me know if you have any thoughts about them, but I'm now going to move on to my favourite things. And one of my favourite things is this camera. I'll just show you on my old one. But it's incredibly useful. The viewfinder's good, and while it may look like a plain digital camera, it has almost all of the functionality of a standard DSLR, only with a much smaller price tag, which is always welcome. Now, there were several television series that I enjoyed. There was season 4 of Game of Thrones, which was fantastic. I got this for my birthday, and I was too busy to watch it until March. I very much appreciated it when I did. And of course, the Viper versus the Mountain will always be horrifying. I mean, just not good and also amazing at the same time. There was Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I watch at least 2 times a year now. I just love it. It's one of the best cartoon series ever made. The concept is fantastic. The messages that are told are beautiful at times, and Iroh is just an amazing character and someone who I think a lot of people can learn from, especially someone like me whose natural state is anger. There was also Red Dwarf. I watched about 4 series of this. That was a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to watching the new series which are coming out in the next few years. They should be very, very funny. Cold outside, there's no kind of atmosphere, we're all alone, more or less. I'm going to stop singing now because I can't. I'm also really into Shadowhunters, the Netflix original series. I don't know why, but there's something about it that grips me. The acting is not fantastic and I wasn't particularly fond of the books, but there's just something about it that's fun. Plus, it's also quite good to see, at least in some ways, that they have brought the Alec and Magnus relationship forward by several books. Otherwise, there would be very little that's LGBT in there. And, well, we all know how much of a boost that can give to ratings nowadays when there are LGBT people and the allies constantly looking to find representation. Oh, and Once Upon a Time started again in March. It's very, very good. I'm not sure what to make of Hades yet, but it's interesting to say the least. And as for films, every Easter I always watch Jesus Christ Superstar because, while I'm not religious in any sense of the word, it's a tradition that started when I was a child, as is watching The Prince of Egypt, the DreamWorks film. It's still one of the best animated films ever made, and I adore it. It's racially accurate in many ways. It's not unsympathetic to the Egyptians either, which some versions do. And as an extra bonus, it has some amazing songs, but that's what you expect when you have Hans Zimmer writing the scores. The music is going to be phenomenal. There was also Muppet Treasure Island, which is my favourite of all of the Muppet films, which is a very difficult thing to say anyway, because aside from Muppets Take Manhattan, they're all interesting. Well, no, Muppets in Space isn't great actually, but the rest are fun. There was also the live-action Cinderella film starring Lily James, Richard Madden, Kate Blanchett and Helena Bonham Carter, oh, and Derek Jackery, amongst others. There's also that Swedish actor who, well, whose name I really struggle to pronounce. I can say the Skellen part, but Skarsgård is not how it's supposed to be said. My Swedish friends will probably kill me if I try. No, I'm going to stop now before it turns bad. But this film, I adore it. Richard Madden, for one, is a very handsome prince, and I might fall a little bit in love with Prince Kits every time I watch it. It's just so sweet and nice and lovely. Also, I like the song, the Lavender's Blue Dilly Dilly. It's quite nice. English folk songs I'm particularly fond of, but nobody really pays attention to that the song is not actually that great for a Disney film, because it's actually about having sex in the fields. At least one of the verses is. Just mull over that. And of course, the stepmother really steals the show. Kate Blanchett steals pretty much anything she's in. And it was good. I liked it. I may have also watched Frozen again, because I watched the Cinderella film and there's the short before it, Frozen Fever, and I just got really into it, so of course you have to let it go, and I'm singing a lot in this video. This is despicable. And now there's only a few things left. I'm particularly fond of Vimto at the moment, not sponsored, though I'm up for it if you're watching. Specifically warm Vimto, and if you're having a particularly dull day with a little bit of vodka thrown in. I might have that now. And also, something that really surprised me, tea. Specifically at the moment, peppermint tea, but tea in general. I never liked it before, but it's really grown on me now. I can't explain it, but it's marvellous. Oh, and lastly, I'm going to say my new haircut, and though you can't see it because for some reason I can't manage to reproduce it with artificial lighting, but when I'm outside you can see it. It's purple and it's fantastic. At least for me. It barely shows up then anyway, but it's really given me a bit of a confidence boost. I mean, not enough that I've actually started going to the gym yet because my confidence is not that strong, but certainly better than it's been in a long time. And that's it then. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please click like if you did, and if you're not already, please subscribe and join the Madhouse family. Or the Inmates is one possible thing I've come up for it. I like that one, but not everyone does. Some people consider this slightly ableist than Madhouse, but there's an explanation for it, and I'll tell you some other time. And of course the most important part is not how many likes you get or how many subscribers, but the comments. The interaction is the fun part, so if you have any thoughts about any of these or anything I mentioned, please let me know. Do you think I shouldn't be putting vodka in my Pimpto? Do you like any of these books or any of these films, or do you detest them with a passion? How was your March? Tell me. Until next time then, I hope you have an inspired day and that you are kind to yourself and to those around you, and to those across the world as well. Consider the refugee crisis at the moment. If you were in their situation, would you like to be treated with anger and scorn, or with open arms and kindness? You decide. Until tomorrow, tatty byes.